Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about policy based on superstition. In 1841, Charles Mackay wrote, "Men, it has been well said, think in herds. It will be seen that they go mad in herds, while they only recover their senses slowly and one by one." Back in March, the U.S. economy was booming, and unemployment was near record lows. But then state governments decided to lock everybody up in their homes and put tens of millions of people out of work. The government feels kind of bad about this, and now they want to give everybody back $600 from the tens of thousands of dollars which the government previously confiscated. And the COVID-19 relief bill also tackles the very important topic of the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. The same people who've destroyed the human rights of hundreds of millions of Americans now say they're very worried about human rights in Tibet. And not only is the government worried about the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama, but they're also worried about climate change. They want to take away your air conditioner because they say it causes climate change. 30 years ago, the government took away chlorinated fluorocarbons known as CFCs. They said it was causing a hole in the ozone layer and that we were going to have to use much more expensive refrigerants in the future known as HFCs. The CFC scam from the late 1980s was quite an impressive piece of work, and now they're trying to pull a similar scam with HFCs. I'm not going to discuss the CFC scam in this video, but I will discuss what's going on with HFCs. 4 years ago, countries reached a landmark deal to limit global warming from air conditioners. They said that the air conditioners which were keeping people cool and alive were actually causing people to overheat. But for some reason, HFC reduction again snuck into the stimulus bill. Senator Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii said that they were given 2 hours to read a 5,000-page bill. What could possibly go wrong with that? And why does it require a 5,000-page bill to send citizens $600? But the New York Times seems pretty excited about getting rid of air conditioners and refrigerators. Let's take a look at what life was like in New York before air conditioning. During the summer of 1896, a 10-day heat wave killed nearly 1,500 people, many of them tenement dwellers across New York City. In January of 1896 was the hottest month on record in Southeast Australia. The New York Times reported in 1896 that Adelaide reached 127 degrees in the shade. Many people died during that 1896 heat wave in Australia, and it was reported that birds were dropping dead out of the trees. 5 years later, in 1901, a 7-day heat wave in New York City killed more than 1,000 people. The hottest July 4th on record in the United States occurred a decade later in 1911. The 11-day heat wave in 1911 killed as many as 2,000 people in New England. Vermont got up to 105 degrees, and New Hampshire got up to 106 degrees. Numerous people committed suicide in order to escape the heat, and many people drowned as well. These people weren't killed by global warming, they were killed by extreme heat and a lack of air conditioning. And during that same summer of 1911, there was a 70-day heat wave in Europe, which killed more than 40,000 people in Paris. Again, these people were not killed by global warming. They were killed by a lack of air conditioning. And the New York Times is now bragging that the coronavirus relief deal makes it more expensive and more difficult for people to get air conditioning. So the government wants to massively increase everybody's air conditioning bill while giving them $600 to help pay for it. Now let's look at the science, or lack thereof, behind the justification for doing this insanity. HFCs, which the government says they're trying to control to stop global warming, make up less than 1 part per billion in the atmosphere. If everybody on Earth represented 1 molecule in the atmosphere, less than 5 people across the entire planet would be HFCs. Well, that doesn't really sound very scary. I used to do software development on the radiative transfer models for the National Center for Atmospheric Research. I'm very familiar with these models, and I know that generally climate scientists don't even bother to model HFCs because they're such a small component of the global warming equation. Here's a chart showing the importance of different greenhouse gases. Water vapor is far and away the most important greenhouse gas. The gray bands here show all of the different wavelengths of light which water vapor absorbs. As you can see, water vapor absorbs a very broad spectrum of light frequencies. This means that water vapor is a very effective greenhouse gas and accounts for the vast majority of the greenhouse effect on Earth. The only other greenhouse gas which is of any significance for the greenhouse effect on Earth is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide has several distinct peaks, most of which overlap with water vapor. So if there's any significant amount of water vapor in the atmosphere, the additional greenhouse effect from increasing carbon dioxide is minimal. The wavelengths of light which might have been absorbed by carbon dioxide are more likely to be absorbed by much more common water vapor. Climate alarmists want people to get hysterical about other gases like methane and HFCs, but the reality is that they have almost no effect in an atmosphere which contains significant amounts of water vapor. So we have a bunch of politicians who've been confused by junk science, throwing in meaningless garbage into a coronavirus relief deal. It would be interesting to find out who are the beneficiaries of this fraudulently obtained money. And it would also be interesting to find out if any members of Congress are getting kickbacks. Many things in this bill are based on superstition, deception, and lies. And in part 2, I will discuss the superstitions behind the coronavirus policy itself. I will probably make that video in the morning. Until then, please visit Toto and Kyrie on the web at realclimatescience.com.